Good morning, John.
Morning, madam.
I see you up. Excellent. We have big plans for today.
But it's my off.
I know it's Saturday, blah, 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 but my friends are coming over, so please clean the entire house, no dust around. And you need to cook for 10 people. And don't forget to take Jaden from the playgroup.
But it is my off. I'm meeting my friends.
Do you want to lose your job, darling? Do you know how many people want to be in your position?
Yes.
So, chop chop, start working. People, I'm paying you. I'm paying you to work and you are, I have day off. Equalify! Hi!
So today we're going to be talking about the living and working conditions of domestic helpers. We're currently in Hong Kong, which largely hires domestic helpers from Philippines, Indonesia, and other Southeast Asian countries. And we're going to get right into it about understanding the working hours, about just how the owners, maybe the employers basically,
Yeah,
but
owners.
it feels like they're
Yeah, I
owners.
know, right? The pressure they face, the amount of work they need to do, the conditions they live in. Yeah, it's all just terrible. And we want to discuss it because some people do not realize what conditions they live, what problems they face, and they can't voice out. They're just like minority, right? Some people do not consider them as people in general.
Exactly. So currently in my house, we don't have a domestic helper. It's my mom doing all the work. So mad respect to her. And Ila lives alone, so she does all the work. But we have heard a lot of stories about some of the difficulties that domestic helpers face, and we're all human. So getting right into it about working hours. So we were looking at a survey and we found out that 3 out of 10 work more than 16 hours, but 7 out of 10 work more than 11 hours. And that's crazy because usually, a normal working day is like 9-10 hours max.
Yeah,
That's
like I come after work, after my 9-hour shift, and I'm like, done. Yeah, I would like somebody bring me a cup of tea, but then nobody, thank you, darling. But then, yeah, and imagine they like working and working and working, and every day something new. And like they are doing different things. Some of them taking care of kids, some of them taking care of family and kids, some of them taking care of elderly. It's like loads of pressure, lots of things what some people wouldn't ever consider to do.
During the pandemic, we heard a lot of cases of domestic abuse, sexual abuse, and the mental health of all the domestic helpers because a lot of people stayed home. So that means that actually a lot of the domestic helpers, they weren't able to have a off because the family members are home the entire time, and who's going to clean, take care of the whole household, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, in general, during lockdown, pandemic, quarantine, lots of families had problems. But then when you have someone who you can shout, who you can let all your pressure go, you're gonna use that person instead of maybe your husband or wife or kids.
Oh, so true.
Yeah, and they've been in a really difficult situation, and obviously nobody wants to lose the job, so you have to obey and do whatever your owner wants to do, which is terrible.
Like, yes, master.
Yeah.
And we were looking at some of the pictures where the domestic helper stays. So for those of you who don't know, Hong Kong is really tiny. The apartments are really small. And sometimes I saw a picture where the helper was living on top of the kitchen. So like at night she would just they would bring down the bed and they would be staying in there. Or it's a room where you can just put one single mattress. Like there's no space to get out except the front where the door
basically
closes.
it looks like a cupboard, so you live in a cupboard.
Yeah, basically.
Like in a wardrobe. Like you live in a wardrobe, which is terrible. And that's why they are spending their days off, like Saturdays and Sundays, outside, at the park, under the bridge, on the bridge, everywhere. And as a person who was in shock not having anything like that in my country or in places I lived. So first time when I moved to Hong Kong, I was like looking around and I'm like, what the hell? Who are these people? Why don't they have home? Why they are sitting on the cupboards? Like they eat eating, they're drinking, they are dancing, celebrating, video calling, everything, sleeping, and I was like, wow, why? And nobody actually explained me, and I was like not happy about it because I was like, hey, I also have day off and I want to go to the park and I want to sit and enjoy the view and everything. And they're like, the park, there's nowhere to sit. And now I know why and what is happening, and now I'm like, okay, you need to use space because you live in a wardrobe, in a little box, and that's why you need that space. And lots of people don't know about it, or they don't just give a shit.
And they don't understand it. I remember like why the first time when I was looking at them, and I was like, oh, this is strange. Like they're all just, what they usually do is they get cardboard and they pivot on the ground and they sit on it. And I was always just like mesmerized by it because like they would be, some of them would be doing each other's hair and like you mentioned, singing, dancing, cooking, but they looked so happy. And I was trying to understand that the reason why they're there is because, you know, you don't want to be stuck in your workplace.
Exactly.
So you obviously try to escape or find another place. And it's good that they can actually find friends and console with each other. And it's great. It's like having a off day and everyone's together. And it's hard because sometimes if your family does not allow you to have an off, then you can't actually hang out with your friends at the same day.
I also was like surprised how confident they are, because I can barely take a selfie in public places. If I'm with a friend, yeah, I can do it, but if I'm by myself, I'm like, but then they do so many things and people just walk past them, you know, and I was looking at them before, like, you know, and they feel okay about it, or maybe they don't. You never know what's happening in their head. They have no choice but then live in that condition. Maybe some of them actually not feeling comfortable, people passing by and staring at them, how they eat, how they talk to their families in their countries. Yeah, like no privacy.
It's really hard, where I think as humans we need personal space, and in Hong Kong it is hard, and I can't imagine what they're feeling. And a lot of them is probably miss their own families, and it's important that you're able to give them time to talk to their family, because I have heard cases where like the owners do not like that they're on their phones the whole time, and with the pandemic it's harder. And also there's been a rise of domestic like violence and even sexual abuse towards the domestic helpers.
I mean, crazy. Why would you do that? Like, I mean, if you have a normal employee, well, I mean like teachers, I don't know, bankers, whatever, right? Would you abuse them? Would you treat them the way how you treat domestic helpers? No, they're just workers. They do their job and you pay them. You shouldn't have anything else asking or from them, or I don't know, it's terrible. And I also noticed that lots of domestic helpers have their kids at home, right, in their home countries, and they come here to earn money and they take care of other kids. Like, can you imagine how they feel? Like raising another child, loving another child, spending time with another child while your child is missing you at home and waiting when you're gonna send money to them.
It just breaks my heart. And I heard a friend that because the parents are sometimes so busy, they actually spend the kids in the Hong Kong where they're with the owners like kids, they actually spend more time with them, so their relationship is even closer than with the family. And for example, when the helper contract is finished and another helper comes, it causes a lot of like attachment issues for the child too. It must be difficult for them because most of them are women, so I can't imagine like you are focused on your career. And actually, it's very interesting. Most of them actually are very educated. They've done like bachelors of in their university in Philippines, but because the pay of being a domestic helper is more than what they could earn with the educated background, so they opt for this.
I know,
so
right?
It may not be their like optimal choice.
And plus, when you see domestic helper, when you see someone from Philippines or Indonesia, you assume right away that person is a domestic helper. So it's kind of a stereotype, a label they already have. So yeah, it's easier for them to get that job, which is paying better, rather than try something else where they will be paid less, definitely.
For sure. And there is a stereotype, like I have friends that are Indonesian and Filipino, but doesn't necessarily mean that, like their background, like we just assume, right? Like
Yeah, right
whoever
away.
we see is obviously a domestic helper. And I hope that there is like more support for them, and we are trying to just try to voice up some of the concerns or try to sympathize of what type of pain they might be encountering on a daily basis when they're working.
Yeah. And in general, raise awareness and let people know that they're also human beings and it's their job, and we need to treat them as anyone else around us. Because they clean your table, I don't know, wash your clothes or make your bed, it doesn't mean that they're less people than you. It's just their job. If there's no domestic helpers, you have to do it by yourself. Like, or your mom will do it, or someone else. Like, will you treat them the way how you treat domestic helpers? No. So you should be grateful actually that there are people who are ready to do that kind of job, which most people wouldn't probably do. So yeah, instead of abusing them mentally, physically, you should actually be grateful because they play such a big role in life of Hong Kongers, but also in general in Asia. Like China has domestic helpers, right? Singapore has domestic helpers. So I think if we literally remove domestic helpers, how Hong Kong, maybe even more, will literally crash.
Yeah.
Then everybody will call and say cannot come today. Because of domestic helpers, someone who take care of your child, you can go to work and earn that money and live in a good condition. So be grateful.
Be grateful and respect. Like
respect, yeah.
When I grew up in South Africa, we also had a helper, and she had her own room, and she was also with us where we got robbed at her house, and she was there. Like she had a gun against her head, and that's why they opened they threatened us, like if you don't open the door to this house, then like we'll shoot her. So obviously we opened and like let them come in because we wouldn't risk her life. And afterwards, after that event, she still stayed with us and worked with us, and there wasn't such a bad. I know, it was like a very standard like hours. There wasn't like in Hong Kong where it's really like they have to multitask and do everything, because my mom was still in charge of like taking care of me, driving me to school. But I mean, in helpers in Hong Kong, sometimes they are sent to pick up the kids, take them to go to like a certain playground. So it's a lot of things, and we have to respect them. And everyone is just human. We're all equal. There shouldn't be a hierarchy, like just because I'm paying you means I have authority over you.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. And you also wanted to mention something about their mental health.
Yeah, a lot of the times, like the employers may lash out on them emotionally and say hurtful words. And actually, if you do that, I think you really should go get counseling. But even domestic helpers, they need counseling themselves, because they don't realize that they're actually absorbing all the negative stress.
There's no way to. The only place they can go is just meet another domestic helper and discuss how the situation is tough. But then it's not gonna help much, right? And they send almost all the money to their family, so they can't afford to going to see a psychologist or whatever. And I think they also assume that this is normal. So being mentally abused is normal, and they don't say anything because they don't want to risk to lose the job.
That's so true. So if you want to help, just start being aware of your words, and maybe sometimes you can help out too. Like instead of shouting them of how not to do it, maybe you can show them how to do it as a first example. Don't expect everyone to know already the right steps. So we hope you guys understand and try to put yourself in the shoes of domestic helpers. Try to understand why the way they are, and we're all humans. Everyone has emotions. Everyone has the right to have their own space and freedom. So what you can do is just be careful of how you treat them, because that's something you can control.
Exactly.
So that's it for this video. Hope you understand a little bit more and enjoyed it. If you have some comments and things that you want to add for next video, just let us know, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye!